Man, I'm excited because training camp is near for the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL world. And tonight, we'll dive into the big 3 questions that I have going into camp. Let's get to it. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez. Man, we're getting closer. Getting closer and closer to Cowboys training camp, set to begin late in July in Oxnard, California. And that is the time of the year when we start going crazy for football's return. And I love it. I absolutely do. Scrolling up on Twitter over and over again, trying to find those practice clips and trying to find answers for some questions that we have about the team, frankly. And some of those questions we're going to discuss today. The 3 biggest ones that I have in my mind. And we're going to start with a superstar on the team that I have a very strong theory that we already know exactly what is going to happen with them, but we got to find that exact answer. And I'm talking about what is going to be Micah Parsons' exact, that is the key word, exact usage. We might not find this out in training camp, but we're going to get some early answers, I believe. Here's how I see the Micah situation. A lot of people want to have him play linebacker off ball. I really do. The Cowboys are not going to mess too much with any of that. I think the Cowboys, with Mike Zimmer leading the defense, are going to treat Micah as a pass rusher because that's what he's been doing for years, and he's been pretty damn good at it. And it's much more valuable for the team to have that caliber of a pass rusher on a down-to-down basis versus putting him at off-ball linebacker when he hasn't been that good in the first place. He has been decent at times, sure, playing off-ball linebacker. Has he been the level of elite that he is as a pass rusher? No, I do not think so. Now, what do the Cowboys think? What does Mike Zimmer think? And even if he thinks he's going to play off-ball linebacker, I do wonder how much of a say does Micah have in that? Because you got to keep him happy if you want to keep him around, assuming they do want to keep him around. He's set to become the highest paid defender in the history of the NFL. And on the other side of this discussion, if they do have that discussion as to what Mike Zimmer wants to do with them, the other guy is a coach in a 1-year rental deal for Dallas. So no, I don't think the Cowboys are going to switch Micah's position at all. But how does Mike Zimmer plan to use him even as a pass rusher if that is the case, right? If he stays at the role that he's had for 3 years now. I wonder if they mix it up a little bit more often, because I think that when Dan Quinn dropped Micah into coverage or something like that, it was in very rare instances. Does Mike Zimmer maybe crank that up like 10%, something like that? Could happen. But I'm also wondering what the philosophy is going to be when he rushes him, which is going to be 90% of the time or something like that. And what I mean by that is when Dan Quinn was trying to come up with all of his pressure packages and was trying to find new ways, by the way, very successfully, to get to the quarterback, he always tried to make Micah the star of the show, right? We've talked on the show about how Leighton Vander Esch would come down to the line of scrimmage, and we all know damn well that Dan Quinn was not expecting Vander Esch to get to the opposing quarterback, but he was expecting him to draw the attention of the center, force him to block him in order to free up Micah on a one-on-one, maybe versus an isolated guard, maybe versus a tackle, finding a way to not allow the guard to slide towards the tackle and help out. But that was always Quinn's plan. How can we isolate Micah versus an offensive lineman? And usually they were pretty good at finding the weak link. Now, what if Mike Zimmer comes in and he's like, no, I do want everyone to slide towards Micah. Because I don't want one-on-one. I want several one-on-ones. I want one-on-ones across the board, right? I want DeMarcus Lawrence to get a one-on-one while Osa also gets one. And this guy gets one. And some way, somehow, and I'm not an NFL defensive coordinator, so I wouldn't get into the details, but there are teams that use their premium pass rushers to draw attention from the offensive line in order to free up others. Whereas with Dan Quinn, it always seemed to us like, hey, they're trying to free up Micah and then worry about the others. What is Micah's exact usage? I'm really looking forward to getting a glimpse of that in training camp. I'm looking forward to seeing how they incorporate him in A-gap pressures, all that stuff that we know Mike Zimmer really likes. So we'll find out, I believe, in the summer. Question number 2, coming to you here on Primetime. How does Trey Lance look? But let's be more specific than that, because you better brace yourself. Trey Lance is going to do some wild stuff when training camp kicks off. He's got a freakish arm. He's got the legs to make plays. So he's going to have some freaky highlights, I believe, when training camp gets going. And he's going to have some receivers to work with, too. But that's not what I'm interested in at all. I'm not going to get excited about Trey Lance making a freakish throw from one hash to the opposite hash, across the numbers or something like that. I know he can do that. We've seen it on tape. We've seen it on regular season games. Look at the 49ers-Texans game when Trey Lance entered in as a backup and went wild. We know what that looks like. What I want to see is Trey Lance seeing the field well, consistently, on a down-to-down basis? Or is he making mistakes? Is he throwing a lot of picks? And I know we like to make way too much out of interceptions when practices are ongoing. But how does he fare against the Rams when joint practices come together? Or when the Cowboys are doing 11-on-11 drills? Is he going to make a lot of mistakes if they get into deeper weeds? Because that was Trey's issue at San Francisco. And I remember Jarrett O'Sullivan's... No, man, I absolutely messed up his name, didn't I? Well, JT O'Sullivan's YouTube channel, when he did that film breakdown on Trey Lance, and he was like, hey, he's just not seeing it right now. And that's why the 49ers were like, okay, Sam Darnold is our backup, and we're going to trade away Trey Lance. So that's what I want to see. Does he see the field well? Is he succeeding? How is he succeeding? Is his footwork on par with what Mike McCarthy wants? Can he run these, I don't want to say pro-style offense, but an offense where the quarterback has so much control at the line of scrimmage? Because I do remember Kyle Shanahan, for example, describing Trey Lance as a little bit of a football junkie, right? We think of him as this wild talent, but he's also a little bit of a smart QB, so we'll see how that plays out. But hey, I want to see how is Trey Lance succeeding, not only if he's succeeding. Question number 3, and I think this one is one that lives in our minds, sometimes keeps us up at night, and sometimes we get nervous about whatever the answer might be. But I am going to go with Tyler Guyton's trial by fire. How does it go? Because Tyler Guyton, in contrast to, say, Cooper Beebe, who has to fight Brock Hoffman for the starting role at center, Tyler Guyton's going to be your left tackle, man. We know that. Tyler Guyton is set in stone. He's starting for you. They're not gonna put Chuma Dog out there again. I don't think they're gonna put Zim Richards out there over Tyler Guyton. It's Guyton's spot. Period. How does he fare against Micah? Because do you remember Chuma going up against Micah? And I'm not comparing those two. But that was the situation because, you were dealing with injuries on the offensive line. We were seeing all sorts of looks. And Micah was breaking practice for the offense. How does Tyler Guyton fare? Because he might have the athleticism, but we know the hand placement is not there yet. He needs to work on it. We know that he is considered a very raw prospect, more than when Tyler Smith entered the picture in Dallas. So how does that go? I'm dying to learn about Tyler Guyton, and I'm dying to see those clips because similar to the Trey Lance thing, he's going to lose several reps versus Micah. But if he does, how is he losing? And obviously, it's going to be a good way to catch him up to speed to the NFL level, but it also might be a little bit tough to watch during the summer. Excited about that, or maybe he silences us. Maybe he shuts up the fan base. And maybe he dominates Micah. And obviously that's not going to happen. but maybe he does better than we think he will. Wouldn't be the first time that we're caught by surprise by a Cowboys offensive lineman. So those are the 3 big questions that I have for training camp. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button for me if you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.